So essentially, a anti-cancer drug is attached to a targeting agent, particularly an antibody, and they're linked through a chemical linker. And so the sort of concept of ADCs is having a more targeted version of anti-cancer drugs that are going to specifically be targeted towards tumors as well.
Hello, and welcome to the Oncology Insights Podcast, brought to you by Wisnetics. I'm Dr. Abby B., dedicated to bringing you the latest insights and discussions in oncology. So get ready to expand your knowledge and stay ahead with today's episode. Today, I'm excited to talk with Ewen Ward. Ewen is the brand director for the Hanson Wade Group and joined Hanson Wade in 2022 as a conference producer. So during that time, Ewen has worked with multiple life science areas, including central nervous system and gene therapy meetings, and most recently, the flagship World ADC conference since 2023, which we'll be talking about today. Ewen speaks with scientific communities to understand the most important challenges and innovations to create insightful and relevant agendas and speaker faculties. Ewen loves traveling to the conference sites as part of the on-site team to ensure that meetings run smoothly and to be able to connect with their industry partners face-to-face. Ewen, welcome to the Oncology Insights Podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So today, we're here to talk about the 16th World ADC London Summit, which is going to be happening in February. Tell me a little bit how you got here. How did you get to this role and some of your professional journey? We heard about it in the introduction, but I'd love to hear how you got here.
Yeah, for sure. So sort of stumbled into the role as a bit of a happy accident. My background is in biochemistry at Imperial College in London, where I was studying biochemistry. I think always had a love for science, particularly on biology, on chemistry topics, and then had no sort of plans to become a conference producer. But I think what's worked out for me personally on this role is the ability to stay within the science world, I think, understand new and exciting areas, and often through getting to speak to lots of the leaders in particular spaces, often understand what's at the forefront of those spaces and that innovation as well. So alongside the knowledge, I think the connections I get to meet within the science space are really cool. But I think alongside that, get to work within sort of like a business setting too. As mentioned, sort of started within the CNS space. That was a bit more related to what I was doing within my biochemistry degree, but had the pleasure of working in other areas, as you mentioned, so things like ophthalmology, gene therapy, and then for the past sort of 2.5 years now, had the opportunity to go across and work within our flagship World ADC conferences. So specifically, my role is to work on the London conference that we're going to talk about today, but also work on the sister conference that we run in San Diego each year.
So how many ADC conferences have there been so far?
So each year, we actually put on 9 different ADC meetings. So we have the flagship ones that I specifically work on, but we also have an array of our what we call our innovation conferences that are a bit smaller, a bit more intimate and niche, focusing on specific areas of ADC drug development. So examples within that is our like our Payload conference. We have a conference dedicated towards ADC toxicity, as well as some of the more technical areas like analytical and process development. This very much started, though, with the World ADC meetings. We're going into our 16th iteration for the London conference this year. And I think one of the things that we're very proud of at Hanson Wade is how long we've been in the space. I think ADCs are a pretty new modality compared to other ones, but they still have been around for a few decades now. And I think we're really happy and proud of being with the community from the beginning. I think it's really awesome to see how successful ADCs have been as drugs for patients in recent years, but a lot of work and a lot of challenges have been overcome in order to get there as well. So really proud to have been, I guess, alongside the community now for over 15 years.
In oncology, progress demands precision. Antibody drug conjugates are reaching new levels of patient impact as the go-to modality to reshape standard of care. As traditional ADCs mature, the next wave must differentiate, unlocking new mechanisms and design to tackle payload resistance and treat wider patient populations. That's why the bioconjugate community comes together at World ADC London next month, February 23rd to 26th. the largest and definitive ADC forum in Europe, where cutting-edge innovation, development strategy, and face-to-face networking drive progress. Join the leaders de-risking the future of ADCs, World ADC London, where ADC innovation delivers.
So even though ADCs have been around for a while now, maybe we should describe what an ADC is and give a definition for our listeners in case they are not as knowledgeable as you about that.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a lot more scientific minds that can probably say it a bit better than I can. But what really helped me get over the sort of like understanding of ADCs or antibody drug conjugates is them being described as magic bullets. So essentially a anti-cancer drug is attached to a targeting agent, particularly an antibody, and they're linked through a chemical linker. And so the sort of concept of ADCs is having a more targeted version of anti-cancer drugs that are going to specifically be targeted towards tumors as well. And I think one of the unique aspects for ADCs as a modality is that combination of the large molecule side for targeting and the small molecule anti-cancer drug as well. I think that's it in quite like a simple way of saying it. I know there's like lots of actual challenges beyond that concept as well. What we sort of see persisting within this space in terms of challenges is things like the toxicity that these drugs are facing, obviously attaching very potent molecules to those targeting agents. And so if things do go wrong, don't go where they're supposed to go, can lead to lots of toxicity challenges. And sort of the therapeutic index for ADCs has continued to be a challenge that the space has felt about, particularly when we sort of translate these drugs into clinical trials. I think one of the more exciting parts of ADCs and what we speak about a lot at the conference is that these are designable drugs and they have that flexibility to be a bit more like plug and play with changing up different aspects. So on the targeting agent side, whether that's moving away from a more classical monospecific antibody to things like bispecifics and biparatopic ADCs, or indeed mixing that up to have sort of fragment conjugates, peptide conjugates, small molecule ADCs as well. And equally on the payload side, I think lots of innovation and sort of changes up that can happen on that side too. So I think more recently, actually, we've seen a trend of moving away from those traditionally toxic molecules to things like adding other modalities like degraders, RNA agents, immune stimulating agents as payloads too, or even more sort of complex conjugates like dual payload ADCs, where they can often combine different mechanisms of action on the same molecule to deliver to patients as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is really exciting, right? It feels like the future is here. This feels like something futuristic you might have seen in a movie a long time ago. I'm sure many people have experience with, loved ones or patients or somebody who received treatment for cancer. And sometimes it felt like the treatment was worse than the disease, right? So what you're describing is highly personalized and sort of highly specific delivery of treatments to places where it's needed in the body to minimize side effects, hopefully, and to maximize the effect. So that is really, really cool and really exciting. Even though, like you said, there are people who might be able to describe it better than you. I think you did a great job. Some of that was lost on me a little bit, honestly. So, but I think the idea is, scientists working together to come up with very specific, very well-tolerated treatments for cancer, which I think is something we can all get behind, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think what has been another exciting part of working in this space recently is the clinical impacts that these drugs have now started to have. I think the sort of current generation of ADCs, predominantly made of topoisomerase inhibitor payloads, I think since 2019 has actually seen now a wave of FDA approvals and approvals more globally to deliver the impact that these patients can have, these drugs can have to patients as well. And I think what's been particularly exciting in recent years that it's not just approvals to traditionally later line therapies within oncology, but now within particular indications. I think breast cancer is probably the most prominent example. We're now seeing ADCs, I think, deliver on that potential to reshape that standard of care and actually be administered in earlier line, if not first line settings for some indications as well. And so I think it's a really exciting time for the space. There's still lots of things to improve in terms of unexplored indications, making these more safe drugs for patients as well. But it's certainly a very exciting community modality to be in terms of realizing the potential that ADCs can have for patients.
Yeah. Speaking of that, what direction is the field heading in? You think what are you most excited about right now in terms of the development of ADCs heading into 2026?
Yeah, I think that's again one of the really interesting parts of my role. I think is understanding where the field is going, and then for how we as a conference and as a program can best adapt to be at the forefront and sort of be valuable to the people that we see attend our meetings as well. So it's a very interesting time where I've just spoken about the clinical success and the approval success of ADCs that's had, I think, a very good impact on patients, as I said, particularly within breast cancer, also some areas of lung cancer as well. What's interesting is almost, I guess, the field facing the consequences of that success, where we now have a situation, especially within the clinic, where a lot of the ADCs are focused around the payloads that have been successful, especially Topo1 ADCs, as I mentioned, also going against targets that also have been successful for ADCs, HER2, TROP2 being really good examples of that. And so we're sort of in this place where I think the bar has been raised for an ADC to be successful. And I think it also raises questions on, we're developing lots of the same types of ADCs, and therefore what actually is that impact going to be on patients, which is why we're developing the drugs in the first place as well. I think combined with that, the sort of threat of resistance mechanisms to the sort of current types of payloads as well really sort of demonstrates the crucial need for novel mechanisms of action and design, I think, to unlock differentiation and ensure ADCs can continue to be successful in the future. Alongside that too, I think, is new mechanisms, new designs, I think will also open up the ability for ADCs to be impactful in indications they're currently not serving for patients as well. One of the examples that I hear from the drug development community is gastrointestinal cancer in that regard as well. And so it's a interesting time where there's a success on one front, but the need to be novel on the other side as well. But what I think is exciting about ADCs is going back to what I mentioned about the designable nature of this modality to reinvent itself. And so whilst it might not be clear what that next big wave of innovation is going to be just yet, I think there's faith in ADCs as a drug and as a modality to reinvent itself and stand up to that challenge.
Yeah, just like anything new, you test it out, you go a little deeper, bigger studies, understanding the impact on patients, and then all the while you have to maintain innovation, right? New payload targets, new drugs. So I agree. It does sound exciting. So the World ADC Conference in London, who is it for? What more can you tell us about it?
Yeah, of course. So as mentioned, the World ADC, we run that in London as well as San Diego as our two sort of sister flagship conferences that we have. The London conference in particular is very much sort of the definitive forum for the European ADC community. We sort of pride ourselves in covering all facets of ADC development. And so the conference is very much for anyone actively working in or even interested in ADC development as sort of the one-stop shop for knowledge sharing, benchmarking, staying up to date with where the trends are going, as well as the more sort of networking and collaborative opportunities that the conference offers as well. So the conference is over 4 days. The program has over 110 speakers from around the world, covering all things possible within ADC development. And so the bulk of the meeting is actually split up into 5 different streams of content. So that's discovery, preclinical and translation, clinical lessons, process and analytics, and then manufacturing and supply chain. So we have our sort of opening keynote presentations, but then the bulk of the meeting is really targeted towards different sort of areas of expertise as well, and basically spanning that end-to-end development. In terms of who the meeting is for, we mostly see a drug developer audience at our conference. So we have quite a strong representation from the pharma, from biotech companies and startups within the space. Again, mostly from Europe. About 80% of the audience is from Europe at the London meeting. But again, I think really interesting to see also some quite solid representation from the States and also from Asia at the meeting as well. Alongside the drug developer attendees, also very excited each year to have a number of healthcare providers, some of the academic leaders. We also have investor and regulator presence at the meeting this year within the speaker faculty. So really excited to have sort of the whole ecosystem under one roof for 1 week of all things ADC.
And you mentioned the 5 streams of content. So I guess the idea behind that is that, if you're interested in one of those particular streams, that most of the programming hopefully will not be competing, and then they can stick with that area that they're most interested in or have the most expertise in.
For sure. Yeah, I think there's where your day-to-day is going to fit. We'll probably have content represented for you as well. But I think the beauty of the conference too is that if there's more of a personal interest or something that's a bit more out of your day-to-day, you have the opportunity to nip out for a few sessions and come back to where your expertise sits as well.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's what I love about conferences is networking, is learning about things that I don't know, sharing and developing expertise in certain areas as well. When you're planning a conference like this, what are you considering? What's your approach to make sure that it's enjoyable and impactful for all of your attendees?
I think that goes back to what you said in the introduction. It's the amount of time that I have to speak with the community. So at Hanson Wade, for all our conferences, we really emphasize the time that we are researching and understanding what those most important challenges are within the community, what people want to hear from, what the innovations are, and then really translating that into a compelling and exciting program as well. I think it's also quite exciting on the speaker faculty side that we have companies putting ADCs more at the forefront within their oncology work that they do. And so it is quite exciting to hear from senior leaders within that, some of the people that have been with the community for 10, 20 years at this point as well. But I think have a sort of try to set quite a high bar for those that are presenting in terms of the innovation. I think the purpose behind what they're presenting, to really tackle what I mentioned of the big picture challenges on the need to be novel and the need to be impactful to bring better ADCs to patients as well.
Are most of the speakers invited speakers? Are people submitting, ideas for sessions as well? Or how do you make up the mix of speakers and topics?
Yeah, it's predominantly invited speakers. So we're sort of on top of the companies that we're aware of that are active within the space as well. Typically going after companies that are a bit more progressed with the ADCs, I think have a bit more of a opportunity to present some of the data, particularly those candidates that are within the clinic as well. But we do also see some organic interest for the conference. So those that do put forward themselves and put forward their work, always open to hear that too. And I think one of the things that I really strive for each year is diversifying the different companies and the different types of speakers that we have within the program as well. Definitely don't want our conference to be a bit of an echo chamber, hearing from the same people each year as well. And so very excited to have a number of new companies, again from Europe, but also from North America and from Asia as well on the program for this year, sort of bring their fresh perspectives on that too. Would also add at the meeting, we also have our scientific poster session. So again, if you're not a member of the speaker faculty, there's still an opportunity to come have your poster up for the whole day, connect with people that might be interested within the work that you're doing as well. Also more, I guess, privately, a good opportunity to see who's new and who's there as well. And we're considering speakers for the following year as well.
So can you tell us a little bit, Ewen, can you highlight some of the innovation and research that's going to be showcased at the 2026 agenda this year?
Yeah, of course. So I think one of the most important parts of my role is translating what we see in terms of what's happening in the space onto the program as well. And so that really goes back to what I mentioned about the need for novelty and the need for differentiation within the space as well. And so what we've tried to bring to life on the program is all that different sort of avenues of innovation within ADC development. And so predominantly across, at the moment, the discovery and some of the preclinical translational parts of the program, we have presentations on novel payloads, dual payload ADCs, bispecific and biparatopic ADCs, even starting to see some examples of ADCs being applied outside of oncology as well. And so we have both Dyne Therapeutics and Avidity speaking about some of the work that they're doing on neuromuscular and cardiac diseases for ADCs, which is quite interesting to see what at the moment feels like a small pocket grow a bit as the field progresses as well. From that too, I think is really trying to diversify the companies that we have presenting. I mentioned Dyne and Avidity just now, but also really excited to have some of the European leading companies like Tubulis, Debiopharm presenting for the first time, and then equally from the States and from Asia. Some of the other new companies that we have presenting include Kivu Biosciences, Salubris Bio, Adcoris Biopharma as well. One of the other aspects that we're really excited about for this year is expanding the ecosystem of people that we have presenting. Again, most of our speaking faculty is mostly from drug developer companies, but also really excited to include some ADC clinicians on the program for this year. So 2 examples of that, we have Paolo Tarantino from Dana-Farber. I think one of the more outspoken and sort of well-known ADC physicians. He's going to be coming to present on ADC sequencing and combinations and the impact that can have on patient therapies. Also very excited to have Dr. Peng Gu from the Hanson Institute of Medicine speaking about some of the biomarkers and measures for ADC-induced ILD on the program. Alongside that as well, I'm really excited to have a regulatory presence, so have representation from the PEI, the German regulatory body. I think understanding how regulators are also sort of learning more about this new modality and how they can work with drug development companies to best understand what's needed for the regulatory submissions too. And then also a bit different from previous years, actually have some life science investors on the program. We have a panel session dedicated towards licensing, partnering, and investment within the space. So I think understanding from their perspective what levels of innovation and what levels of confidence they need to get behind companies, especially as I've been saying, when that bar is raised to be successful now, sort of what level of ingenuity is out there for them to be attracted and start to invest in companies as well.
Right. As a developing field, I mean, you're sort of advancing on all fronts, right? From regulatory and investing. And, one thing I wonder about is, in terms of dissemination and implementation, right? Let's say, the field is wildly successful. Will you be covering anything along the lines of, access? How do patients who need these ADCs or might benefit from them, how will they access them? And, will they be able to get them? Costs? Is there anything like that there? Or is this still so innovative that we're just trying to figure out discovery and we'll figure that out later?
Yeah, we have the clinical lessons part of the conference, and also within the pre-day of the meeting, I think some of the toxicity and more combination streams also do tackle some of those. I think, as I mentioned, from the physician perspective, those presentations are going to be really important to, I think, understand the patient lens on ADCs. Whilst these drugs are very efficacious, they do also have toxicities and side effects associated with them. And so I think it's going to be really important to have their point of view as part of the conversation to understand what actually is impacting the patient choices to go along with regimens of ADC treatments, if they are going to have adverse events and toxicities associated with them. Also makes me think back to the San Diego conference we had last November, where we had Dr. Bardia from the UCLA actually open the conference in the plenary, understanding how ADCs are shaping the breast cancer field, but again, bringing that different perspective as well. And I think for a meeting that is mostly dedicated towards those from the drug developer standpoint, particularly the discovery preclinical perspectives. It's always important, I think, to bring back the big picture and the motivations for why we're doing this in terms of bringing the patient lens in as well. One of the new things as well we're really excited about for this year is a partnership with Blood Cancer UK, so a UK-based charity. I think ADCs have mostly had their impact within solid tumours, but do have some also, for example, like Blenrep in multiple myeloma for ADCs as well. So actually really excited to have them come and talk about the importance of incorporating that patient voice within their research too. And also excited to have a oncology patient come in and actually be a part of that opening for the meeting. I think, again, to really bring back the view and the lens to what this is all about in terms of, bringing better drugs for patients as well.
Yeah, definitely. I always find it helpful to be grounded in why we're doing this, right? And to remember that. And then also to think about how do we need to design the drugs and the delivery processes and the regulation in order to make sure that people can access them, right? Whether that's, payment or being able to access them if you live in a very rural area. So you can have the best product in the world. And if people can't get it, then it'll be hard for it to have a major impact, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Beyond the scientific content, what else does World ADC London have to offer? We've talked about a lot already. Is there anything that you think there is on offer that we haven't discovered yet? Have haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, for sure. We like to keep people busy when they sign up for the meeting as well. So the scientific content, I think, is what we lead with in terms of like the knowledge sharing, the benchmarking, keeping up to date with those trends as well. But I think also really appreciate the level of like networking and new connections that can be forged at the conference as well. And so really try and bake in those opportunities alongside the program. I mentioned previously we have the scientific poster session. So we actually run that for the full duration of both conference days. And so an opportunity outside of the presentations to understand maybe some of the newer faces within the space or those that aren't presenting, what some of the work that they're doing is as well from that side. Alongside that, even during the lunch breaks, we do have some sessions as well for people to connect in sort of, again, like dedicated presentations towards some of their areas of expertise as well. And then also we have some of the more like informal aspects of the conference. So we finish day one, the sort of busiest, longest conference day, with a drinks reception. So again, bit of time for people to have a bit more of a informal conversations, meet new people, catch up with old friends as well. I think with it being year like 16 for the conference, we do see people that have been quite loyal to the meeting as well. And so I think it's always good for them to both catch up with old friends, but sort of see the new faces as well from that side. I think lastly, on the point of like beyond the agenda, we also have like a meeting booking tool for the conference. So you can schedule one-to-one conversations either with, again, like existing friends that you have in the space or to also establish new relationships. I was having a look back at the conference last year and we almost had 650 meetings scheduled. So people do make the most of the time that they have there and the people that are there as well in order to sort of forge some new connections as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. I've been going to the wrong conferences because a meeting booking tool sounds great. Before I go to a conference, people will start emailing furiously back and forth, and then you're trying to keep all of these dates and times straight, and it's a different time zone and the program agenda and my personal calendar. So having an integrated meeting booking tool sounds like a really excellent advantage. What do you enjoy most about working with the ADC community at these conferences?
I think I've sort of counted myself quite lucky to be joining the community since 2023, when the space has sort of seen, I think, all the hard work where it's been up and down at points is now sort of seeing that reality come to life. I think one of my favorite parts about the role is, whilst I am not an active ADC drug developer, I think conferences do play a small part in that journey of these drugs getting to patients. And I think starting to see the impact that these drugs are having, reshaping that oncology landscape, is very rewarding, I think, personally for myself on that side. I also think, again, I think the faith that people have in ADCs as a drug modality to reinvent itself where it's needed. I think the example we've spoken about today with the need for new payload mechanisms to get past the new Topo 1 wave of ADCs, I think it's a very cool space scientifically to learn about as well. And also, as part of my role, sort of get the pleasure of going to the meetings, both in London and San Diego as well. So actually getting to meet the people that I speak to online a lot, face to face, see them enjoy themselves, see them learn from each other as well is a very rewarding experience for sure.
Yeah, well, and they sound like great places to visit too. I think it seems kind of appealing to have the conference in the same place every time, because then you're not feeling like, oh, I really need to do a lot of tourism. You've been there, you can see there, you know what you want to do, but you also are there to network and learn and share your work. I'd like to talk a little bit more about your journey to how you got to this. It certainly sounds like something that's exciting and rewarding, and probably a way that, I'm thinking of young people in scientific fields who, like you said, you stumbled into it. It's not the sort of thing you necessarily know is going to happen. Do you have any advice for young people in scientific fields about how they might learn how to use their scientific knowledge in an unusual way like you have and apply different sorts of skills?
Yeah, for sure. I think when I was applying for the role a few years ago, the way in which it was advertised was actually want to sort of be in a scientific field, but maybe not necessarily work within the lab day to day. My time at university or college was interrupted by COVID. And so I feel like I had a very different time at that part of my life in terms of maybe taking a step back from a lot more of that time in the lab and bits like that too. And so I was intrigued by the role as an opportunity to stay and learn in the field, but maybe not necessarily be like as hands-on as other people are as well. And so I think that is maybe sort of like the one line pitch for going into conference production. Working within scientific meetings as well is a really cool way to, I think, learn about exciting topics, I think meet really interesting people, but I think also have a bit more of that like organizational lens on things as well, in terms of being able to bring the right people, talk about the right things at the conferences as well. Whilst maybe like from my own journey, like I'm based in London, so it's not very far to travel across to the Excel Center, but have also had the pleasure of going to Boston a few times and also to San Diego. So I feel quite privileged to be able to have the travel aspects and that like in-person connection as part of my role as well. So we'll definitely put that forward as a bonus for working in the conference space.
And I'm sure it would be much harder for you to do what you do without having the scientific background to at least help you, understand the basic concepts of what you're talking to people about.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm definitely not the cleverest person in the room when I'm with some sort of like life-saving scientists, bits like that as well. But I think through working in the same space now for a few years, you sort of can pick up on what those common themes are in terms of pain points of innovations as well. And I think it's cool to sort of see that develop over the years that I've been working within ADCs as well.
It sounds like a lot of fun. So are you still accepting exhibitors? Can people still register if someone is not planning to attend, but they now want to? What do they need to know?
Yeah, for sure. So the conference is happening in 5 weeks. It's the 23rd to the 26th of February. At this stage, the speaker faculty has now closed off. And so it's more those that want to register to attend the conference. There is still final availability if you want to exhibit or are interested in partnering with the conference, or indeed if you want to come and present a poster at the conference. We're still sort of accepting those for the next few weeks. So that is going to be running out pretty soon. Otherwise, the very registration to attend as a delegate is still very much open from that side. As I said, if you want to submit a poster, we're also going to be opening up the on-site app pretty soon, so people can start to make those connections ahead of the meeting as well. So if you're interested, definitely check out our website because there's still spaces to sign up for this year.
Yeah, I think it speaks to your commitment to innovation to say that a month before the conference, you're still accepting poster submissions. That's not typical to the conferences that I usually go to.
Yeah, there will be a cap on space, but there's still a few options if people want to submit them.
Wonderful. Anything else you want to say about the conference?
I think it's been like a real privilege to work within the ADC space as well. As I mentioned, we adapt to how the field is adapting to. And I think we'd just reiterate that it's quite an interesting but exciting time for the space as well, where I feel the field needs to take a step back, work on the novelty, and then sort of see the benefits of those in the future as well. And so I think it's a very interesting and exciting time for the space, even if it feels like it's a bit harder to be successful within what's worked of ADCs now as well. And so I look forward to continuing to work with the community on that regard. And I'm really excited to see the conversations we'll have in a few weeks' time at London as people bounce off each other and share some of the work that they're doing as well. Yeah,
that sounds really great. I wish you the best. I hope you have a wonderful and successful conference coming up. We usually ask our guests to answer some final questions. Would you be up for that? A few questions?
Yeah, of course.
What is your favorite oncology-related book or resource?
So I feel like what's really useful for me as someone that needs to really sort of stay on top of the headlines or the updates is sort of the more like article-based things within oncology and life sciences. So Fierce Pharma, Endpoints, again, like fantastic tools for me as a conference producer, I think, to stay up to date with all the breaking news, bits like that as well. I don't personally go to many other meetings beyond our own, so it's like a really interesting way to see the exciting science and readouts and collaborations from other meetings like ASCO or ESMO, or even the JPM conference we had just last week as well, to understand what the industry is focusing and caring about as well from that side. Another tool that I get to use as well is actually one of our own. So sort of separate to our conference side of the company, we also have our Beacon database. So very much a tool of the companies in the space, what sorts of drugs they're developing for ADCs, understanding trends within that aspect as well. And so that's a very, very useful tool that I get to use, I think, to stay on the forefront of what companies are emerging, what are they working on, who are the best ones for me to try and reach out to speak to in terms of the innovation aspect, or like reaching out to do presentations as well. They also do some very handy breakdowns on things like other meetings as well. So make it a lot more digestible for me to stay on top of everything. Is that Beacon database something that's accessible to any of our listeners? Yeah. It's also one of the things that we offer as part of Hanson Wade as well. So that's also accessible through our website, and our Beacon team will actually be presenting at the conference as well. They do quite a popular presentation within the clinical lessons track in terms of the overarching trends and some of the bigger picture themes happening within the space as well. Okay, great. Maybe we can put that in our show notes. Nice. So that concludes another episode of the Oncology Insights Podcast presented by Wisenetics. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. Your feedback is invaluable to us. Until next time, this is Dr. Abby B. from the Oncology Insights Podcast signing off.